I made probably the worst decision someone could make right before needing to go into a hour to 2 hour window of not wanting to be interrupted.
You took heaps of laxatives.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I reached out to a realtor. And
okay.
I literally just filled out a form on a website and immediately got multiple phone calls, multiple text messages, multiple emails. Like email, thank you for filling out the form, and then email, thank you for being interested in using me as a realtor, and then thank you, or when can we schedule a phone call? And then I tried to call you, but you didn't answer, and then so anyway.
Classic. Yep.
Yeah.
I know the feeling. It's like contacting a car salesperson as well. Similar thing.
Yeah.
Or we've got those websites where, like, if you need a tradie to do some work, like a plumber, and you just put the ad up, and then they're like, 3 people will call you sometime today, and immediately you just get like 15 calls on your phone because it's a race to be the first to quote.
Right. So I'm leaning very heavily on do not disturb mode today, and we'll see how that works.
Good idea. I should probably do it myself. Are you thinking of selling your house?
I don't own a house, I rent, but I'm thinking of purchasing a house in the near future.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, and I'm actually not thinking about purchasing a house in that near of a future. I'm casually looking with like the intention of maybe a year or so from now buying something. But it just so happened that my very first house that I lived in from ages 1 to 3 went on the market, and it's near me, and it's a good size for what I need. So I just thought, wouldn't that be funny if I bought that? So I was like, I'll be willing to reach out and at least talk about it.
That'd be hilarious. Imagine that.
I know. It'd be great.
Was it your first house then? If you're there from one?
Yeah. It was my very first house from the first 3 years or so of my life. So anyway, didn't work out. Like, the housing market right now, in the US at least, is crazy. Everything is selling immediately for more than asking price, and so it was already under contract. But my name is out there now. I did talk to a realtor enough for her to know to reach out to me if that falls through. So,
Yep. It's the same thing here. Yeah, the market for rentals and for selling and buying houses is pretty crazy.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I wonder if that's COVID related or what.
Yeah, I am not smart enough when it comes to real estate to have any idea what's going on. I just know that it's been crazy recently.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
will you still be in Kansas?
I will still be in Kansas, yeah. So I won't even leave the town I'm living in, just moving a couple miles down the road.
But a couple miles down the road could be like... Wait, let me get this right. Missouri, could it not?
Are you looking at my location on the map?
I sure am.
You're right. Yeah, a couple miles down the road could mean a different state from me, from where I live. But that would not be the case with this house.
So Kansas City straddles 2 states.
Yeah. Most people, if you say Kansas City, they will assume you're talking about Kansas City, Missouri, because it's the bigger Kansas City, and it's the one with the big downtown. It's got all of our sports teams, and that's what you think about. I'm from Kansas City, Kansas, so that's what I think about, and that's my preference of the 2 cities. But that's not the real Kansas City to most people.
Does the state of Kansas have a Missouri City? Just like a like for like?
No, we don't.
Doesn't look like there's much of anything really in Kansas. Just scrolling through your state. Sorry.
Like you're looking for a list of things to do in Kansas, or?
No, just like I've got a view of the map and just looking at major cities, but.
Right. Yeah. If you're, I mean, the farther, yeah, Wichita's the biggest city in Kansas. Which is. Anything farther west than Wichita is just empty fields.
Wow. You've got a Dodge City. Is that where Get Out of Dodge comes from?
Yeah, that's the Dodge City.
Wow. That's a claim to fame.
Yeah. So yeah, if you don't live right on like the far eastern side of Kansas, then you pretty much live on a farm. So
Okay. With Dorothy and the Tin
hmm
Man.
yeah, exactly. So I lived in a town, uh, north central Kansas, a little east of central, called Wamego, and they call themselves the Wizard of Oz town, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got like a Wizard of Oz museum, and they do themed events. All the restaurants are themed after Wizard of Oz, and it's kind of gimmicky but neat. But the museum, when I was living there, I went to visit with the kids. And like, this will be cool. The kids will love this. They're really stretching to call this a Wizard of Oz museum. Like you go in there and they've got there was this huge light, like the old lights they would use to film movie sets on,
All
whenever
right.
Wizard of Oz was 100 years ago. um, but the little placard next to the light was like, this is not a light that was used on the set of Wizard of Oz, and it's actually like 5 years too new, so it's not even like the lights that were used, but it's close. And it's like, welcome to the Wizard of Oz Museum.
Oh gosh. What's
So
next? I have like a panda suit and say this isn't the panda suit that was used on Wizard of Oz because there was none, but it's an animal suit,
kind of
just
like
like it was
the
used on
lion.
Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty silly, but they've got a, like, right on the main street. They've got a farmhouse that's like just positioned right on the corner with like witches' legs sticking out underneath. So,
Classic.
hmm
Oh, that's not every house in Kansas.
oh yeah, every house has a witch underneath of it.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I thought it was a prerequisite before laying foundations to capture a witch, and
There you go.
yeah, put them underneath. There's a funny
And
thread on Reddit yesterday. It was like, what does everyone think about your country that isn't true? Something like that.
okay,
And, well, just to narrow it down to like a state. But yeah, everything from the Wizard of Oz basically for Kansas is probably a lot of it is not actually true, such as houses getting picked up by tornadoes.
I mean, we do have a lot of tornadoes, and houses do get picked up sometimes. When I was
Really?
living in Wamego, there was a tornado that went through there, and it didn't damage our house, but it like knocked down a tree across the street. So,
Whoa, we will rebuild.
uh-huh. So, yeah, tornadoes are, I don't know, there's probably, I've never been personally affected by a tornado, like any real damage done, but there's definitely like a couple times a year where the sirens go off and you got to go in the basement because there is a tornado nearby. So,
Cool. Scary.
yeah. I guess when you grow up next to it, it just like, it's kind of an exciting thing, and you don't take it as seriously as you should.
Yeah.
Because people from out of the state always freak out. The people who've lived here their whole lives are like, we're going to go outside and watch,
Yeah. Get in the truck and chase it down.
That's
Cameras
right, yeah.
pointing at it. We had a cyclone cross the coast about 6 hours north of Perth about a week ago now, and it just obliterated a couple of towns up there.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you guys even got those in Australia.
Yeah, the northern, yeah, all the northern coasts, I guess, of Australia. Both sides get cyclones coming in off the ocean.
Huh.
So it's not like you don't see a twister coming in, like I think you guys do. At least that's what I see from tornado chasing
Uh-huh.
on YouTube. But yeah, certainly get, I think it was 170 an hour winds last week coming in off the ocean.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, there aren't a lot of towns up there, but the small towns, yeah, looked fairly destroyed. Lots of roofs missing, that sort of thing.
Well, you certainly made me envious of you. Speaking of looking at each other's locations on maps, look at your location, and you're so close to the ocean. That must be awesome.
Yeah, I guess so. It's kind of one of those things where I just take it for granted because I've pretty much always lived exactly where I am now. in this suburb even. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's like a 2-minute drive to the beach. It's quite nice, and it's a great beach as well. So, I count myself lucky for that. It's just like white sand and blue water. Hard to complain.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest struggles for me living right where I am. Is my kids have been asking me for years, like, can we go to a beach? And like, someday when you're old enough for us to make like either fly on a plane to a coast or drive for 18 hours to the nearest coast. It's not quite as easy for us to go out and do something like that.
No. What about a lake?
Yeah, there's a couple lakes nearby. It's just not quite the same. There's not like a nice sandy beach or anything on them,
No, lakes normally don't have any good sand unless it's man-made.
Right. So, one of these days.
Well, if you've got to go 18 hours, you may as well just get on a plane and fly 18 hours, and then I'll put you up so you're saving on accommodation costs.
Okay.
Kids in the shed, and down to the beach.
All right, yeah. I'll hold you to that.
All right.
That would be a full house.
Yeah, well, how many of them are you bringing?
Well, if I didn't bring them all, I'd never hear the end of it. So it's going to be me and 4 kids.
It's going to be mayhem.
Not that us Americans will ever be allowed in Australia again anyway.
No, definitely not.
We're too disease-ridden. So, I did get my first vaccine shot the other day, though.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks, yeah. I got my next one next week, which I heard that's the bad one. And I'll plan on being sick for the day after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
Yeah.
It's around, I think we're a little bit behind you here. It's not just Gen Pop who are getting the vaccines, but more like people who work in airports or hospitals and that sort of thing. But a few of mine have got it. A few of my friends have got the vaccine, and yeah, all reports seem to concur that the second shot will knock you out for a day. And it's not nice, but
yeah. You guys don't have near the need for the vaccine, though. You're pretty
no,
safe as
not.
is. Yeah.
I think the only need is if people want to leave, or if we want to start letting people back in without them having to quarantine first.
Right.
Anyway, pre-show?
Yeah. Did you get AirPods Pro?
I did. So I definitely wasn't planning on getting any AirPods Pro or any AirPods at all, because I thought whenever this event is going to turn up, which I didn't know at the time, turned out to be 20th of April, today. I wanted to wait and see if there was going to be something announced at the show, but I was just happily browsing the classifieds, and up popped a brand new unopened set of AirPods Pro for a pretty good price. So I thought, well, I'll just get it and hope for the best.
Ooh. Okay.
And I've already sold them, so I don't have them anymore. Unfortunately, my fears were realized.
Which is?
Because I had the experience with the wired Apple in-ear headphones before, and I was constantly pushing them into my ears like all the time. It was incredibly annoying. And the AirPod tips looked extremely similar to those ones. Although they, obviously they come in 3 different sizes.
Right.
I don't remember if the cabled ones came in different sizes or not.
I think there were different tips that came with them.
Yeah, I think so too. I couldn't remember explicitly, but I thought I'd try all the sets, all the tips on the AirPods Pro, and just cross my fingers that one of them would fit. And since I got them at such a good price, I knew I could probably resell them for the same price, even if they were opened.
How did that happen? How were you able to get a good deal on an unopened pair?
It was just, someone just put them on the classifieds. Specifically, they bought a couple of pairs and they just never turned up. So they got a refund, and then they bought some more sets, and then the original purchase turned up. So just one of those classic cases where they're like, well, it's basically free money now, so we may as well sell it at a price that's not going to it's going to go straight out the door. It's not going to sit around for a few weeks.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And they're great. I mean, the actual audio you get out of the AirPods Pro is really good. I'm not sure if it's because the driver's better or just because when they are in my ear, they make a much better seal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. The thing I didn't like about regular AirPods is that, like, if I'm walking the dog and a car drives past, then I'm not going to hear that 5 seconds of audio as the car's driving past, or even if it's like exceptionally windy, then I have to crank up the AirPod volume like so high that it's probably not good for my ears.
Okay.
And the Pros, combat all of that. They just solve those problems. And in the cases where you do want to hear, you've got transparency mode, which is also excellent. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit funky in that if you talk, there's like a 0.001 delay of your audio to your ears, but I think it's, you get used to that pretty quickly, so it's not a big issue. The isolation mode, also very good. It's not like kills every sound. And I actually what's it called? Noise cancelling, yeah.
Right.
It was probably my least favourite mode. I actually preferred just to have the isolation of just having the tips in my ears do the work of muffling all the external sound. And that was really good. Did
you feel that kind of pressure with the noise cancelling?
No, I didn't. So unlike with the ear cup style noise cancelling headphones,
mm-hmm.
I didn't get any phenomenon of like pressure.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. So if any Pros come out or any AirPods come out with noise cancellation in future, I'll be pretty happy to buy them, even if knowing that noise cancellation is not going to make my ears feel weird.
Yeah. I still don't know if that you tainted me, because I don't know if that's a legitimate thing that I experience, or it's just now that it's in my mind, I can't use noise cancelling without feeling uncomfortable. So now that you've put the seed in my brain that it doesn't happen with the Pros, I think that I can try those.
If you feel it, you'll feel it. It would have to be there. I don't think your brain could create this effect so strongly to make it uncomfortable.
Yeah. It was pretty uncomfortable. Bad enough that I returned those, whatever they were, the Bose Headphones 700.
Okay.
So I think it was probably you just happened to mention that to me right before I owned my first pair of noise cancelling headphones, and it was terrible.
Yeah, maybe you would have felt it regardless.
Yeah. But they wouldn't stay in your ear, so you had to sell them.
They wouldn't stay in my ear. Sometimes I would get like a really good fit and they'd stay in there for hours, and plus the transparency mode, and I just almost forget they were in my ears. And then some days I was just battling with them non-stop to get them to stay in. I'd like just stand up and walk down the hallway and one would be on the floor, like that bad. And I tested the tips. So they came with the regular medium-sized tips installed, I guess. Mm-hmm. And those are just absolutely hopeless. And I quickly changed them for the small tips, and that felt a lot better. And I actually never ended up trying the big tips because it didn't even feel like the middle-sized tips fit me very well, or fit at all, really. So maybe I just have really small ears. They don't look small to me. I mean, at least on the outside, they're pretty regular-sized, but maybe the ear holes are small.
Huh. And you had issues with even regular AirPods, right?
No, regular AirPods are fine.
Okay. I thought you had
regular
one side was looser than the other or something.
No, that is true. The right one feels slightly looser than the left.
But they don't just fall out.
No, the only time a regular AirPod has fallen out of my ears was when it's been like knocked by something. Specifically, my eldest son, and while I'm leaning over the toilet bowl.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. I really persisted with him, pushing him in all the time, trying all the different ways. Like, one method that's often written about online is you reach over your head with the opposite hand from the ear you're putting the AirPod into, and you like tug on the top of your ear as you're inserting the AirPod. So that's pretty fun.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to put like a little dab of super glue on the tip when you put them in.
Yep. Definitely considered that, but I tried thoroughly cleaning my ears, which is another tip. Like, oh, maybe your ears are just too oily, so
okay,
I tried that. I considered getting third-party tips, but then I just couldn't really be bothered with that. Because there is one company that makes like flanged tips, which I thought might do the trick. But the flange is not so big that it would like really go far into your ear, because of course it still has to fit inside the case. So that wasn't really going to happen.
Well, you may be 15 hours away from a brand new pair of AirPods being released.
Well, I'm really hoping. Because currently I don't have any AirPods.
Mm-hmm.
Because I gave mine to Yasmin.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm back on the cabled headphones life, which is just not as nice.
Like a caveman.
Feels like it.
So you have a note in here about the Line podcast. Is that the podcast that was recommended you listen to by one of our listeners on the subreddit?
Oh, no, but I should probably mention that one as well. I forgot about that, although I did listen to it. I know the Line podcast is one of the first Apple-produced podcasts, so I just thought I could mention it. It's actually a podcast about the Navy SEALs and a specific incident that happened in maybe Iraq? Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It's not the very first Apple-produced podcast, because they made a companion to For All Mankind, and I think that came out a little bit earlier.
Oh, yep, that's right. I remember that one.
And this one's actually in a similar vein in that there's going to be a The Line TV Plus show coming out later this year, so they've done the podcast first this time instead of the other way around.
Okay.
Well worth a listen to. It's well produced. It's interesting. Yeah, it's just interesting to see that Apple is getting more into podcasts, and I think we might even talk more about that later, because they may be getting even more into podcasts after tomorrow.
So what is the format? Is this like a story broken in different episodes, or is it a different topic every episode? Or
yeah, it's kind of like Serial, which most people are familiar with. It's just one long story broken down into, I don't know what it is, like 40-minute chunks.
Okay, cool. And then how was the podcast that was recommended to you?
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. So, yeah, a popular topic recently is that I've been thinking of better ways to give money to artists instead of just paying for streaming. And then Matthias suggested listening to this podcast, which had a previous executive from Spotify talk to Andy Rowe. So Will Page is was the guest and the ex-exec. Who also wrote a book, I think, called Tarzan Economics. That might be the name of the book. Yeah, probably worth giving a listen to. It didn't really. I kind of went into it thinking, oh, maybe it's going to spell out how paying for streaming is actually fine. I kind of had a hope that might be what I was getting myself in for, so I could justify resubscribing to Apple Music. And it felt at some points like Will Page was trying to say that, but he never said it, or at least not in plain enough English for me to understand that it was worth paying for. It seemed, he seemed to want to say that it was worth it, and the artists were getting, their due.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, I never heard him actually say that, or anything that made me think that.
But you wished he would, because you're struggling
without
Apple Music?
Apple Music's obviously more convenient instead of having to. It's less work just to go into Apple Music and type in the album and then click one button and it's in my library.
Right.
And ideally, the artist would get their due for me doing that. So I hoped that that was the case somehow. In some aspect that I hadn't considered, it was actually worth doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like they get 1 cent per stream. So,
well, not the artist. The record label gets 1 cent, and then the artist gets a cut of that.
Yeah. Don't spend it all in one place.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Matthias, for sending me that. And it's basically confirmed with me that I'm probably doing the right thing.
Well, I
or
guess
at least
that's good.
getting the artists more money from me, from my pocket, for what that's worth. Although it did not take long for me to go searching for an artist to try and find some way of supporting them, and to find an artist that seemed to be basically unsupportable.
Oh, really?
I mean, there's someone who's it's like a biggish name, but not like you'd never hear them on pop radio.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not massive, but they're big enough. And like the links to the merch store were broken, and then when I found the merch store, there was nothing in it, and all the links on his website to listen to music were to streaming services, and so I am worried that that's going to be a theme going forward when I try and find some other way to support an artist, and there just won't be a way.
Just gotta start looking at people's address and send them a check in the mail.
Imagine that. Well, I briefly considered just like sending him a tweet, like, give me a PayPal address, mate. I'll just chuck you a few dollars that way. But
right,
it's I don't know if it's even worth their time for $10, you know.
You just start your tweet with, "Hey, I've been pirating your music," and go from there.
Yeah. That reminds me of, I went to a concert once of what's the band? Hello Goodbye. Have you heard of them? I think they're a US band.
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, but it was a long time ago, and so they played like one of their new songs, and then at the end the artist yelled out like, "Oh, who's listened to our new album?" And like the whole crowd went, "Yeah, whoa, yeah, we've all listened to it, blah blah blah." And it's like, it's actually only been available because it was pirated, and we haven't actually released it yet. So you're all stolen it.
Man.
Classic.
Well, we've got a pretty different format for the show today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Seeing as this upcoming keynote is a smaller one and not a big fall event or WWDC, thought it would be fun for us to give a shot at making predictions ahead of time instead of just talking about things immediately after. Although our predictions are only going to be up for like a few hour window before the keynote, so hopefully everyone listens to us before the keynote.
Yeah, so it's 10 a.m. my time now, and I'll probably have the show released by like 6 p.m. and then a mere 7 hours later the keynote will start. So yeah, we're not giving people a huge chance to listen to our predictions, but you know, they'll be published, they'll be there. You could even listen to the show immediately after the keynote and then laugh at how wrong we got it or how right. I don't know.
Our most loyal listeners will get to hear us ahead of time.
That's right.
So
the pressure is on.
Mm-hmm. So I see that you've made a grid in here. Did you have a specific idea of how you wanted this to work? Were you wanting to put descriptions of what our predictions are, or like a confidence level in each of these things so we can see who wins after the keynote?
Yeah, just some way of keeping track of it. So I've listed all the rumored products or things that'll be released, and if it's something simple, we could just put like David, yes, but if you have specific thoughts, then we could put what those thoughts are as well.
Okay. Yeah. Well, do you just want to go through these in the order you have spelled out here, and we can start making some guesses?
Yeah, okay. I'm a little worried that my guesses are just going to be parroting all the rumors for the last few months.
Well, there's been some contradictory ones, so you're going to have to at least take some kind of stance on these.
Okay. I'll try and take a stance. Good morning.
Good morning.
You got some thoughts?
I've got some thoughts on iPad Pro. Okay, so in the interest of trying to make things interesting, I'm going to make a couple far out there predictions in here as well, but that I think could still reasonably happen. So for iPad Pro, it's pretty much given it's going to have a mini LED display. That's been rumored for over a year. So I think we're definitely going to see that tomorrow. I think we're only going to see it in the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Mm-hmm. I think the 11-inch may still be around and not get an update, but I think it might also get discontinued. I think
completely discontinued.
I think the overlap between iPad Air and the 11-inch iPad Pro is too much. And so I think iPad Pro might just be the big iPad moving forward. And iPad Air.
Have you seen the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro? They're the same size. Apple doesn't care about overlap.
You might be right, but this is, like I said, I'm trying to make some far out there ones. I think the 11-inch might go away. I don't think it needs to exist. I think Pro will be the big one. I think it's going to have a mini LED display, and even more, I think because Apple never talks about the technology, they're not going to say iPad Pro with a mini LED display. I think they're going to call it a Liquid Retina XDR display.
No. It's too short.
It checks all the boxes. It's perfect. It's already got a Liquid Retina display. Liquid Retina is their edge-to-edge curved LCD technology. Mini LED display is still an LCD, but it enables much more fine-grained control of backlight brightness, which is exactly what the Pro Display XDR allows. Higher contrast ratio. So I think Liquid Retina XDR is a perfect fitting name, and I think that's what they're going to go with for these new iPads.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And I would give that. I mean, I don't know about the name, but I'll say that we're definitely getting the iPad Pro with mini LED display, 100% probability tomorrow.
100%. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely happening.
Well, I on the other hand would predict that there will still be two sizes of iPad Pro. Because of what I talked about, and Apple doesn't care too much about overlap, and I think the 11-inch is probably the more popular iPad, so why would they get rid of that? And I think it's also, despite what rumors say, it would be uncharacteristic to release the two with drastically different screen technologies. So I think both will have the mini LED display.
Okay.
I love that name though, Liquid Retina XDR. Ticks all the boxes for me.
Yeah.
So despite what I was joking about, I'd put actual money on that being the name.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Although I'm terrible with betting, so no one follow me on that, if it's even possible. And I've also heard that there's a new Apple Pencil, which will come out alongside it.
Yeah. I've seen rumors that it's going to have the shiny plastic finish, which I'm not a fan of. I really like the kind of matte plastic it's got now. But besides that, what do you think Apple Pencil 3 could offer feature-wise?
That's a good question. Which also means I've got no idea.
I'm pretty much drawing a blank as well. I mean, I guess I could say it's more pressure sensitive, maybe more sensitive for tilt. If there was one thing that I really want a new Apple Pencil to have, it's the ability to flip it over and use the backside as an eraser. So I'm going to throw that out there as my prediction for what the third gen has that can justify its existence over the second gen.
Can you already tap the pencil to change what it's doing?
Yes, you can double tap the pencil to switch tools or switch to an eraser.
Okay.
There were rumors when the second gen pencil came out that it had some kind of like ability to sense more than just taps. Like like stroking it in some way or dragging your finger up and down. I don't know if that is any practical application, but I suppose that could be another sensor they add if they're trying to justify a new iteration.
Stroking could be a handy feature.
Yeah, but I'm going with eraser.
Yeah, that would be good. I think, yeah, if you could change the double tap to something, if you had an eraser on the back, you could repurpose that double tap to something even more useful, whatever that is. Any other wild thoughts about the iPad Pro, or is that all we've managed to come up with? And obviously, it's going to have like the new, like an A14X and better cameras and all the usual stuff.
There's been a couple rumors that say that the A14X, being that it's basically an M1, is going to enable Thunderbolt support through the USB-C port on the iPad. I believe that's totally a viable possibility, and I'll even say that'll probably happen. There's also been multiple rumors that say that there's going to be a revamped keyboard, a Magic Keyboard accessory. So I don't think the dimensions of the iPad Pro are changing enough that the existing one wouldn't work. So I wonder what would change in the keyboard to justify a new version. Maybe pass through of more than just power, but I suppose that would require
a new smart connector.
Yeah, either maybe a new smart connector. The smart connector can already transmit data, so it's probably just not fast enough for USB data. So it could be physically the same, or it appears the same on the outside, but they've just like internally boosted its performance, and they need a new case to support that.
What if it was made out of aluminium instead of the stuff it is now?
It's already so heavy. But it's also
aluminium's not heavy.
The keyboard case is already heavy enough, and aluminum is definitely heavier than the rubber it's made out of now. Although it's artificially heavy, so it can counterbalance. So I suppose they could change the material and it still be the same weight because they can remove the extra weights they're adding in now.
Yeah, possibly.
So,
yeah, I bet they could make it the same weight.
Yeah. Could be nice.
So nice, yeah.
It looked like a little laptop.
Exactly, yeah. In terms of Thunderbolt, I guess it makes sense if it just comes free with the A14X.
Mm-hmm.
But what's going to take advantage of it? Pretty much nothing. Does anyone even use the USB-C to USB 3 speeds at the moment?
Probably not very many people.
I bet. I bet they don't.
Maybe they can, if they fix external displays, like this isn't something I would usually expect to come with a new iPad. I would expect this more to be a new iPad OS update. But maybe they'll say that they've tweaked external display to work better.
Mm-hmm.
To go with adding Thunderbolt. I was actually going to
bring that up next because, imagine if just out of the blue, there's this special version of 14.5 that has actual proper external display support for iPad OS.
It wouldn't be the first time they've done something like that.
No. All the trackpad features came out of the blue with a software update was that last March even?
Yeah, it was 1 year ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think that'd be cool. And that's some way for them to justify the existence of Thunderbolt speed, I guess.
Imagine iPad plus Pro Display XDR.
That'd be such an expensive setup.
It'd be pretty awesome too.
I saw some people predicting that the iPad Pro was going to have a moderate price increase as well, which sounds crazy to me because the iPad Pro is already a little too expensive in my mind, especially when you consider $300 Magic Keyboard case and $150 Apple Pencil and I mean, starting price of $800 is pretty high when the performance is comparable to their $300 iPad. So I'm not saying I doubt it. I just am not happy about it.
And you don't just compare it to the regular iPad now, you compare it to the M1 MacBook Air. And the prices of those are crazy. And just this morning I saw that they've come out with M1s in the refurb store now, at least in Australia. And let me just give you a quick sense of the price, because let's see. 1,000 US? I think that's what you guys pay already.
That's for a brand new one, is 1,000 US.
Yeah. Minus the tax though here, 900. Well, anyway, so maybe the figures aren't as crazy as I thought, but the entry-level MacBook Air at the refurb store is roughly $900 US here now, which is very cheap.
Right. Yeah. There's a big overlap between those two things now.
Yeah, massive. So yeah, you put the iPad up against that, and you really have to actually want an iPad and iOS. Like, you want the Pro hardware, but you got to kind of put up with iPad OS as well. It's a weird little combination.
I really like my iPad Pro. I use it every single day, but I'm using the 2018 model now, and I couldn't justify upgrading last year. And unless something incredible happens, which I don't think there will be anything major. I don't think display technology change is that big. I don't think I can justify upgrading again this year. So I honestly don't know if I see myself ever getting a new iPad Pro.
Ever?
Yeah, just because there's such a weird overlap. Like, I've got my MacBook Pro that is light and has twice as good battery life as my iPad and can run iPad apps now. It's hard for me to think about getting a Pro iPad. If I was going to get an iPad, I'd probably get a cheap one now. And I would just use it for casual consumption and things like that. And if I want to do anything that I would have reached for my iPad Pro in the past, my MacBook Pro checks all those boxes and more.
I'll tell you the one thing that would make me go all in on iPad. Mac OS on the iPad. You'd have me. You'd hook, line, and sinker. I'd be walking to the Apple store.
That would be pretty cool. I'd have to see how Apple does it, because I mean, I guess it is kind of starting to look a little more touch friendly with how spaced out Big Sur is, but it still feels like there's a lot of small touch targets in macOS.
Yeah, sure, but you've also got full mouse and trackpad support, so
that's true.
I'm not too concerned about that.
Yeah, if when you snapped into the keyboard case, if it just like switched over to macOS, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, maybe. You'd have to be like dual booting, wouldn't you? Imagine that, dual booting iPad, iOS and macOS. Just stick like boot camp on there while you're there. Windows on ARM on iPad.
I mean, that would open up a whole new. It would completely change the market the iPad's in. It'd be competing against the Surface devices a lot more than it currently is. And I think it would handily beat them.
The Surface is so popular. It's like the device for executives, right?
Yeah.
I bet Apple would just love to waltz into that market. And it's as easy, in air quotes, as putting macOS on the iPad.
It's totally within the realm of possibility. I don't know if that's what they want to do, though, or if they're going to keep trying to just make iPad OS more fleshed out and professional.
I think it's a road with a dead end.
Yeah. I mean, they've basically already done it. The dev kit was macOS running on an iPad, so they can do it.
It's free money, Apple. Just take it. Just do it and take my money. iPad Mini. Do you think we'll see one? It's been a long time since the iPad Mini was released.
I think we're going to see one. I don't think it's going to have the edge-to-edge display that some people have predicted. I think it's going to get a spec bump,
really?
but still stay the same design that we've seen with the Touch ID home button.
Wow, okay. Bold prediction. So it's just going to be a spec bump.
Yeah, I think we're if Apple decides to continue the Mini, any further past this year. I think the next iteration could be the edge-to-edge one, but I don't think that's this year.
Right. Are you keeping track of this, by the way? I started typing, but...
I can type some things down.
Okay, cool. iPad mini, I'm going to say it's getting a full revamp, so it's basically going to be a small iPad Pro with the edge to screen, or a large iPhone, I guess.
I would love one of those, but I'd probably be a day one purchase for me.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an Apple product I care less about.
Really? My problem with my current iPad setup is the things I'm using my iPad Pro for the most right now are reading recipes while I'm cooking and reading sheet music while I'm singing. And both of those things, it feels too big for. So if I could have something really small and light that I could hold, especially singing, that I could hold in my hand for an hour plus at a time without it feeling heavy or too hard to hold in one hand without it feeling like it's too out of balance or whatever. I think the mini would be perfect for that. If the screen was bigger, I feel like it's too small right now. And I kind of hate having my iPad Pro in the kitchen while I'm cooking and oil splattering around and whatever else. Yeah. So I would love a small, cheap iPad I could put in my kitchen and not worry about.
iMacs. Are they coming?
I say yes. They're coming, and they're going to be colorful. I'm going to say they're going to be bigger. I think we're going to see 23-inch iMac and a 32-inch iMac. And they're going to have that new Pro Display XDR-esque design. And the processor, this is the question. I think we might see an iMac with an M1, like maybe the 23-inch, or at least the base model of 23-inch. And then the 32-inch is going to have M1X. I think that's going to be the name.
I was typing that in just in advance of as you were saying it. So
oh, really?
I got it all right.
So you were predicting what my predictions were going to be.
That's right.
Let's see. I think we're going to have John Prosser tweeted a very cryptic tweet just a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. Minutes, okay, this is fresh.
It's just the letters YCLA.
Sounds like a university.
Well, one of the people in his comments down here is guessing that this is the colors of the new iMac. And they say yellow, cyan, lavender, and aqua. Which...
Well, yeah, lavender, cyan, and aqua sound good, but yellow? Apple's never going to call anything yellow.
You don't think so? What are the iPad Air names? Let's see. Oh, they don't even have a yellow iPad.
No.
But they have sky blue, rose gold, space gray, and green. So it's not out of the question that they just do one uncreative name for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Green. Why? What could Y stand for?
I don't know. I think a yellow iMac is a possibility.
Yankee blue.
Yankee blue.
That's Google's first suggestion for a color starting with Y.
Interesting.
Or Yale blue. Still, yellow sounds most likely out of those.
Yeah. So what about you? Do you think iMac is coming tomorrow?
I'm fairly on the fence, but just because I really hope it is, I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I do think it's going to come in colors, maybe YCLA, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
The sizes you said sound likely and probable. XDR design, that part I'm pretty skeptical about. The whole like back, what do we call it? Honeycomb? I think it's pretty unlikely for an iMac.
Oh, that's not what I mean by XDR design, but okay.
Okay, all right.
I just mean that general shape.
Like fairly flat, rounded corners and edge to edge with fairly small bezels. Is that what you're thinking?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I would be on board with.
The only thing that I think would put a wrench in any of this is just the chip shortages going on right now. Mm-hmm. And so any product that even could be ready to launch, we might not end up seeing just because Apple can't make enough of them right now.
Yeah, wouldn't be too weird for them just to announce it now and say like ready at WWDC or something like that.
That's true. That's possible. Or for them to say available next week and only have like a handful in stock at every store or something.
Done that too, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
I'd be surprised if they have different processors though. I think both of them would probably need an M1X. So I'm going to say, yeah, no processor differentiation there.
Okay.
And here's a bold prediction.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have a better webcam, better than 1080p.
Ooh, I'm documenting that.
Okay, you write it in. I'm not sure what the speakers are like in the current iMacs, but I think it'll have like, yeah, let's just say better speakers as well.
Okay, that seems reasonable. There's going to be a lot more room inside of these computers. They're bigger, and
exactly.
There's going to be a lot more free space, so they can definitely do something with that space.
Like when they first made the 12-inch iPad Pro, and there's so much space, and they improved the speakers drastically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very reasonable.
So yeah, and I know it's fairly like a cop out just to say like better X and better Y, but I think it's going to be better enough that it gets a mention. Maybe not the webcam getting a mention. Actually, no, I'll stick to that. Webcam gets a mention just for the cheer.
Apple knows that people don't like their webcams, so they might make a big deal out of it.
Yeah. Okay. So. What are they going to call the speakers then? I'll go for studio.
Definitely.
No, that's already taken for the microphones. Studio array microphones. There's going to be a little animation of audio waves emanating from the bottom of the iMac.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to write that down.
Worth noting, I'll throw this in. No Face ID. As much as I want that, I don't think it's coming.
Okay.
At least not yet.
Yeah, it's certainly a prime product for Face ID, but you've got to save something for next year, don't you?
Yeah.
Typical Apple fashion is just to iterate in one area and then just keep at it for a few years until you've got something even better.
Right. Yeah. There's just no need. I mean, there's going to be a huge update for the iMac. Different sizes, different colors, the M1 processor. Like, they don't need to throw Face ID in. They need something to entice people in a year or two. So,
what if the power button gains Touch ID?
Like on the back of the computer?
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it. I don't think they're going to make someone give their computer a reach around every time they want to unlock it.
Okay.
Do you want me to put that down for you, though?
No reach around.
No reach around. Okay.
Thanks, though. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's all I've got for the iMacs.
Yeah. I think that's pretty solid prediction. There's a lot going on there. So, AirTags.
AirTags.
We're past
year
the couple
10.
Year anniversary of these being predicted to happen.
Guy Rambo tweeted earlier something about that.
Yeah.
Because he was the first one to uncover a mention of them.
So I think if they don't happen tomorrow, they're not happening at all. I think that they're either going to get announced or they've gone the way of AirPower, and Apple's decided that their partnership with these other companies like Chipotle is going to be enough for item tracking, and they don't need to do it.
Okay.
That being said, I think they are going to happen. I think we will see AirTags tomorrow, and I'm sticking strongly to my 3 for $100 price point. That's about all I have in terms of predictions of AirTags. I think they need some kind of standout feature now, especially because there are people like Chipotle that are competing directly and have the same general feature set as AirTag. I don't know what that is, but I'm excited for. It's been a couple years since we heard about this, but the UI that uses like AR and the U1 chip to like point an arrow so you're like end up looking in the right direction as the AirTag, and there's supposed to be like a balloon floating over it or something. Like, I want to see that.
I think it definitely has to come.
Yeah,
because 14.5 has got so much relating to device tracking in it. I don't believe that's purely for third parties. I think Apple is quite invested in this market, in all the wideband and software stuff they've done already. And I don't think the market is. I don't think the public is aware enough of the market, if that makes sense. Like, I think Apple needs to make a device just to like give a little adrenaline shot to the device tracking market. And even if their device isn't anything special, I think they should still go ahead and release it. I think they kind of need to. Okay.
So you think it'll be coming tomorrow as well?
Yeah, at 5 for $99.
Ooh, okay.
That's what I've always said. Hasn't it been 5 for $99?
Yeah, you've said
5
for $900. Okay. I will make one prediction for AirTags, because there has been some waffling on whether or not they will have replaceable or rechargeable batteries. I predict that it will have even as I say it, I'm questioning it. I think it's going to have replaceable battery, like a watch battery.
Replaceable? As in a coin battery?
Yeah. I think you can get more out of it that way, because having to integrate the charging technology or like coils and a little lithium-ion battery, I don't think you're going to be able to get the same battery life. And those coin cell powered item trackers can last months at a time. So I think that that's the way that Apple's going to end up going.
But how much like charge can a lithium battery hold compared to a coin cell? It has to be more. How could a coin cell, like this ancient technology basically, invented by the cavemen, give better performance than lithium ion?
I think it's just size. You can fit a bigger coin cell in when you don't have to make room for the charging circuitry, the charging coils, everything else. So they're saving space on all that.
Those coils are like flat as. They basically take up no space at all.
All right. Are you arguing for the opposite?
Yeah.
Okay. Considering
that Apple is like the green, environmentally friendly company.
Well, I would say I think it's more green, because replaceable battery, you can swap it out. Rechargeable, once the battery wears out, you kind of throw the whole AirTag away.
But this thing is supposed to be using, I mean, if it can run for months off a coin cell, it has to be using such a tiny amount of power that a lithium battery is going to last for years.
But I know those tile trackers last like a year at a time, I think.
And what do they run on?
Some of them have coin cells. Some of them are literally, you buy them and you throw them away when they die. They last so long.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think specifically like they've got one that's like shaped like a credit card to fit in a wallet. so it's too thin to hold like a replaceable battery. So, but it lasts like a year or two.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say, yeah, purely based on Apple's green ethos. It's going to have a rechargeable lithium battery that can Qi charge.
Okay. With MagSafe?
No, just normal Qi charge.
Okay.
So the latest AirPods rumor is that they're going to mention the AirPods and not release them.
Going to mention them? What are they going to mention about them?
What they're going to be. They're going to announce them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that what you are predicting?
No, I don't think we're going to get AirPods tomorrow. Even a mention of them.
Okay.
I think it's too unlikely. There have been enough AirPod releases in like recent enough history. No mention, no release.
I am disappointed, but I completely agree on this one. I don't think we're going to hear about AirPods 3 yet. As much as I really want some new AirPods, I don't think they're ready. I don't think it's a priority right now. So, nothing yet.
One thing I didn't mention about the AirPods Pro when I was talking about them was I gave spatial audio a shot. I'm just thinking of that now because if there are going to be an AirPods 3, they've got to have spatial audio, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I didn't find it all that exciting. Maybe it's because everyone hyped it up so much, but it's like you turn your head and the audio kind of sounds like it's coming from the phone still because it all moves to like the right AirPod.
Right.
Whoop-de-doo. maybe it's just the stuff I was listening to, or maybe it's a case of like you use spatial audio for a few months and then you go back to regular AirPods and it sounds like crap.
Well, it seems like if what you were listening to just sounded like it was coming from the phone, you weren't listening to a very good example. You need something with surround sound, so it sounds like it's coming from everywhere. And then when you're turning your head, you really feel like you're immersed because the sound stays locked in place everywhere around you.
Yeah, I thought I was. I tried quite a few shows on TV Plus, but
Not really.
yeah, I never really got that sense.
I don't know then. That's a feature I'm still itching to try.
Podcasts Plus as a service is rumored as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be Apple's subscription podcast service. So like exclusive podcasts, probably, almost definitely included in Apple One if it's announced. Interestingly, it is currently not possible to submit a new podcast to Apple's podcast directory.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
As of what? Last few hours?
Yep.
Okay.
Suspicious timing, don't you think? Almost seeming to indicate that the service is being worked on in the back end in some way.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right there. So I agree that Podcast Plus is coming tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be included in my Apple One. That'll be great. What do you think the standalone price will be?
It can't be much.
Mm-mm.
Let's go with $4.99 a month.
Okay. Yeah. We're
US dollars we're talking,
right.
as always, unless otherwise mentioned.
I'm exactly in that boat as well. I think that's what they're going to ask. I think that's way too much for something that was free 24 hours earlier. Now it costs money. How do you think they're going to sell it? Like there's a podcast. They have to have like some real premier podcasts to justify anyone spending money.
Oh yeah, for sure. There are going to be some existing podcasts that get sucked into Podcasts Plus. That's for sure. What those are going to be, I've got no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really keep track of like what are the big popular podcasts, but I don't know. Does Oprah have a podcast? That'll probably get sucked.
That's
in.
the name that immediately jumped to my mind as well.
Okay.
Since Oprah was the headlining feature of TV Plus. Let's see. I'm just going to go to top charts on the podcast app and see what's trending right now. Top show is Your Own Backyard, A Crime Junkie, and then something called Call Her Daddy, and then Killer Roll. Like the true crime podcasts, those are really big right now.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe something like that. But man, I don't know. Spotify already got Joe Rogan, which I'm not sure Apple would want to associate themselves with him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. They'll probably get some big personality to make a podcast for a year or something. Someone who maybe.
What if they got like Jad Abumrad? He's a huge name in podcasts, like one of the original. Well, actually, I think he was doing shows before podcasts existed, just as radio shows, but he's a massive name in podcasting.
I've never heard that name before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you heard of Radiolab?
Yeah, about 3 seconds ago when I was reading his bio.
Okay.
Huh. So, I don't know. This is not a service that I would subscribe to unless that's what they're gonna do. ATP is gonna be in a Podcast Plus.
Oh, imagine.
Yeah, they wouldn't do that. The ATP guys wouldn't do that.
Well, if they paid a ton of money, they might.
That's true. There's enough money.
Relay FM sucked into Podcast Plus. The entire network.
Is there anything good on Relay? I've never used it.
Relay is like connected. Relay FM. You'll recognize like all of the podcasts, I bet.
Oh, really? Okay, let me look it up.
Let's see. Mac Power users, Jason Snell. Analog with Mike Hurley and Casey Liss.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Connected with Mike Hurley, Stephen Hackett. Cortex with Subreddit Gray. And just heaps of others. Reconcilable Differences, Merlin Mann, John Siracusa.
I recognize most of these, scrolling through them.
Yeah.
They're at least
under the radar.
Names I've seen. I haven't listened to most of these, but I recognize them. So that actually looks like a solid lineup if Apple did something like that.
Yeah. It's a massive lineup.
Yeah. Okay.
It would actually be sucking in like a few of the podcasts I listen to regularly, so they would have me. Even if they're just using Podcast Plus to push people to buying a Apple One subscription, that's I think a pretty valid strategy. Mm-hmm. Like they're not really expecting too many people to sign up to it on its own, but as like increasing the perceived value of the bundle with not too much cost to them, like probably pocket change, because podcasts aren't worth that much next to TV shows and movies and all the other forms of media that we consume.
I really don't like monetizing podcasts in this way. What if Podcast Plus, maybe it had a couple premium podcasts on it, but the core idea was that there was premium versions of the podcast you listen to for free. So you can get like ad-free ATP in Podcast Plus. Mm-hmm. I would feel much more comfortable with that than putting podcasts behind a paywall.
In a similar vein, what if it was... Yeah, and I guess I'm just thinking of your idea. Yeah, you've got the free version and then like the Patreon tier where you get more shows or extra content.
Extended cuts and no ads.
Yeah. And some shows, I guess, could put the entire show behind the paywall if they wanted to.
Right.
That's an interesting concept. Yeah.
Getting
money into podcasting without locking anything away.
Right.
Or at least not too much. Or not any of the stuff that was already there. You'd think that the stuff they've already... Like The Line, for example. If they were going to release Podcast Plus, maybe they would have kept The Line to be part of their initial offering.
Mm-hmm.
If there was going to be something. But at the same time, The Line is kind of just advertising for the TV show that's coming later in the year anyway, so might not make as much sense, I think.
What if Podcast Plus is not a subscription in the same way as Apple's other offerings, and instead podcast could there's an individual fee per podcast. Like you could subscribe to a podcast for 99 cents a month or something.
Well, that's pretty similar to what you said before, isn't it?
I suppose, except that instead of a flat fee for access to everything, it's a per podcast cost.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, it would have to be that. You couldn't like subscribe to Podcast Plus and have unlocks for every single podcast that had something behind, like the paywall. Could you?
Yeah, I could see it going either way. If you listen to a lot of podcasts, it would get really expensive if it was per podcast cost. But if you only listen to a couple, it would be harder to justify the slightly higher fee to unlock everything. I think
it's
if
like
they're good
streaming, you pay the monthly cost, and then the ones you listen to get a piece of your money. Except that they don't really.
I think it's going to be a monthly cost. That's what I put, or I think it's going to be a flat fee for everything. As I put my prediction, but I don't know. There could be other options.
Updated Apple TV hardware.
I don't think we're going to see it. Not tomorrow.
Ever?
Not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow, not ever.
I think it's coming. I'm slightly more optimistic about it than I was a couple months ago, but I don't think we're going to see it tomorrow.
I'm not convinced that Apple cares about Apple TV hardware at all, except for the fact that Apple Arcade on the TV kind of relies on it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else makes me think that we'll ever have another Apple TV. So, yeah, certainly just put a no for me.
I also read the other day, after our discussion about the expanded Apple Arcade library, that those legacy games don't have to have support for the other platforms to be included. So some of those don't run on the Apple TV or Mac for that matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or the Mac, right.
Right. So some of them do. Some of them don't work great on a Mac. Like what Fruit Ninja on a TV probably doesn't make sense. So I see how that would be hard to do. But yeah. Anyway, so it reminds me of when the Apple TV 4th gen came out, and the initial requirement was any game made for it had to be playable with the Apple remote, and Apple realized what a bad idea that was and backpedaled. Feels like they've done the same thing with Apple Arcade now, where they've artificially limited the number of games that can be on it by forcing developers to support like 3 or 4 different platforms to be on there.
Yeah.
So
it's going to make Arcade so much easier to develop for if there's just no TV at all.
Yeah, but man, that's the most compelling one though. Like I'd love if there was some good games for the Apple TV, but there just haven't been. So I was a big supporter. I bought the 4th gen Apple TV day one, the fall of 2015, and there, if you open the App Store and you look at the top apps, it's the exact same ones that were there the very first day that it launched.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah. So
it was my dad's birthday a few weeks ago, after we did the last show, and he's got an Apple TV 2nd gen, but he uses an app or a sports streaming service, and he's always plugging his laptop into the TV instead. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to get him a streaming box. And I was very strongly considering getting the Apple TV. But in the end, I just could not justify the amount of money an Apple TV costs, even secondhand.
Really?
Just to get this one streaming service more, easier for him to access. So in the end, I got him an Android TV box. Oh,
interesting.
And guess what? It doesn't work anymore. It's already dead.
You should have gone with a Roku. I've heard good things about those.
Yeah, I've not seen a Roku for sale anywhere.
Oh, really? They're very popular over here.
Roku. Let's see. So if I just go to Google and click on shopping, can I get it anywhere? Looks like there might be some dodgy ones on eBay, but that's it. After eBay results, I get Roku Japanese Gin 700 milliliters.
Interesting. So it's just not even offered over there, huh?
Doesn't seem like it.
They're pretty good. They've got a bunch of different variants of accessories you can plug into a television, between like just a little stick that you plug into an HDMI port, or the big like 4K streaming box. It's more Apple TV-esque. And even most smart TVs anymore, at least the cheaper brands that maybe don't have Samsung's whatever UI built into them, they generally have the Roku streaming software built into them.
Yeah, I forgot to mention a limitation is that it has to have this streaming service app on it, which is only in Australia. So that actually limits me a little bit.
Right.
But I just typed in Roku KO, which is the name of the service, and it says that Telstra, who is Australia's biggest ISP, sells something called a Telstra TV, which is actually a Roku, and then you get the AU Roku store, which has the KO app, but the generic Roku ones don't have access to the Australian app store.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah, so you see my problem.
Mm-hmm.
I had limited choices because of this app requirement, and I do realize that a lot of things can just be streamed to, like you get the thing running on your like your phone and you cast it or AirPlay or whatever, but Dad's not into that, so
Interesting.
I think he's too old for that.
That's what you get for cheaping out and not just getting my Apple TV like a loving son would.
Don't make me feel worse than I already do, David. No, I have to go and suss out what's wrong with his Laser, which is the brand of Android TV box I got, and it wasn't even cheap either. It's still $75. So
Wow.
I didn't get him like a $15 thing of AliExpress. Anyway, a cinema display.
I'm just putting no. That's not happening tomorrow.
Zero hopes.
Not at all.
Expectations, I should say.
I think we'll see. I think Apple will make a cheaper cinema display-esque thing again, and I think we'll see that alongside the mini Mac Pro that maybe is coming this summer or fall, but I don't think it's going to be tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yep.
Okay.
I think because Apple's making making displays now that they want to have a cheaper one, but no matter how loaded the name of this event indicates, I don't think there's space for a display.
It doesn't make sense because they're not announcing any other like desktop computer. Like the iMac doesn't need a display announced alongside it, and the Mac Mini's already out, so I don't think it even fits with the theme to have a display with this event.
But if they're releasing the iMac and the display is basically the same form factor just without the computer,
yeah,
it might make sense in that context.
And they could say you use the iPad Pro's Thunderbolt to plug into it.
There you go.
If iPad Pro got dual booting of Mac OS, then they would release a display alongside. But
okay.
I don't think that's happening.
Okay. I'm going to write that down though. No, unless iPad dual boots macOS.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Here's a random one I thought of. Are they going to make some sort of joke related to drugs?
How do you think they would do that?
Either the crack marketing team or anything in that vein.
I feel like they save those for the OS names, which we'll see at WWDC, but I don't think we're going to get that tomorrow.
Not the fact that they're holding the event on 420.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think about that.
I don't think they'll mention that specifically, but there's almost certainly going to be a pun. Yeah, not even a joke, a pun, a drug pun.
Okay, well, I'll just hold the contrary position so that there's some differentiation there.
Okay.
I think it's possible if Craig gets any stage time or screen time, I guess.
Good. Yeah, Craig. Would Craig have any time on stage? Because if he doesn't, then it would probably change me to a no. Because who else would do it?
Probably not Tim.
Probably not.
I mean, it's possible. Craig was the one that demoed the Magic Keyboard case a year ago.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Do you have anything that wasn't on my list? Because that's the end of the list that I put together.
I have one other thought. I think we're going to get new phone cases and watch bands in spring colors, but I don't think it's going to make the keynote. I think it's just going to go on their website tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Also, something they will probably mention on stage, 14.5 will come out.
Okay. So I did think about cases and bands, but I decided not to add them to the list because I didn't think they would even be released. So
Oh, really?
I guess that's a no from me, even not in the keynote and not released even.
Okay.
14.5 mentioned on stage. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Seems likely. I mean, we're up to beta 8.
Yeah.
They're clearly waiting for today
Uh-huh.
to release it.
Yep, definitely.
Why would they hold out and not even mention it?
I'm sure there's a couple things coming, like AirTag support. They're basically like coming in 14.5. They're probably going to touch on the tracking stuff and yeah. But I think that's a solid keynote. I don't think that anything else is going to happen. And even this sounds like too much. AirTags, multiple iPads and iMacs. That's a lot. And a new subscription service.
That's pretty loaded. Yeah.
That's a big event for them. So I could easily...
3 iPads if you count the mini.
Mm-hmm. Well, I
2 iMacs.
I only predict 1 iPad Pro, so...
Okay. AirTags and podcasts.
I could easily see any 1 or 2 of those items being cut and still it being a big keynote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
which one would you cut?
Either the iMac or the iPad Mini.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Pretty positive about AirTags coming then.
Yeah, like I said, they have to come tomorrow or I think they're not coming. So I'm putting all my eggs in the AirTags basket. I think the chip shortage stuff, even if the iMacs are ready, I think they could potentially wait to WWDC just so they have more time to make more. And iPad Mini is a take it or leave it thing. I think that it could just go away. So if one of those things were to not happen, I would say it's one of those two.
If I was to take one thing away, I would take away the AirTags.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So we have the Pro and the Mini released and the iMac.
I really want AirTags to come out just so I can laugh at how ridiculous your price prediction is.
I can't wait.
Okay. So we've got a few differences of opinion on what'll happen. So what happens? Like, what's the reward for winning?
The reward for winning.
Mm-hmm. It's just gonna be bragging rights.
Yeah, we could have an actual reward though. The loser has to post-produce the show for the next 12 months. No,
oh man.
I can't think of any good prize. Like, is there any? What about the loser buys the minimum quantity of AirTags for the other person if they are announced today?
I'm on board for doing
That's
that.
potentially like $100, $150.
But I bet there's going to be a single quantity. You can probably just get one.
Yeah? Yeah, I guess there has to be.
Yeah.
Single quantity or starter pack.
Yeah.
All right, a single item then. A single AirTag.
Okay. I can do that.
All right.
Now it'll be a little more interesting at least.
Wait, how do we determine who's the winner? How are we scoring it?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because it might not end up being apparent. We could weight our predictions with confidence levels.
We could just have... That'll take too long.
Okay. We could
Too much grey area.
we could just count them. Either it happened or it didn't, and if there's gray area, we can hash it out in the next episode. But it might end up being a no question thing.
Okay. Yep. All right.
Yeah.
So just major marks, yes or no.
Yeah.
And count them up. We could even use like the sub comments we've made.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it's a liquid Retina XDR on the iPad Pro, and I said both have mini LED, and those mini comments can be the decider.
Yep.
If we need them. All right.
I think that's good.
Okay. We'll both score our own and see what score we come up with.
Okay. That sounds
All right.
good.
I'm James VDM on Reddit and on Twitter.
And I'm Jellywoot on Reddit and Twitter.
And the show notes are at reddit.com/theRAppleShow. I just saw a cool little feature that maybe we could use, but Reddit's going to have a Clubhouse competitor
Really?
pretty soon. Yeah, you can. I've already signed up to be on the waiting list for it, but potentially we could broadcast this as we record it on Reddit itself, like on our subreddit.
Ooh, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be fun.
Which would probably mean I'd finally have to switch over from the old Reddit to the new Reddit, but I'll make that sacrifice if we can do this.
Yeah, we gave that a try just barely with letting people listen on a Discord a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think we had a couple people pop in and out, but it didn't amount to much.
Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of it. Well, first it's a little bit disjointed because I have to go from Reddit to Discord.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the little like beep boop, beep boop as people come and go all the time. And
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and I actually think that could... I guess it depends on the demographic of our listeners, but a couple years ago, when we were being stickied on the Apple subreddit, a lot of our listenership, I think, was inconsistent. It was different people every couple weeks, and I think we have a bigger core base, at least, than we did a couple years ago. So maybe there is a group of people now that would be interested in tuning in live.
Yeah, maybe.
So
Yeah.
that'd be worth trying.
And even contributing live as well,
Ooh, okay.
because it will have a hand in the air feature.
Cool. Yeah. How did you even find this feature? Like, I'm on Reddit and I don't see anything about it.
I think someone posted about it on Twitter.
Interesting. Okay. But there's no just like sign up button somewhere.
No, mine, the express interest button took me to a Google Drive form.
Oh, here it is. I found a mod newsletter about it.
Ah, okay. When was that letter from? Because I typically ignore those, and maybe it's been an
11
advertised feature for a little while now.
11 hours ago.
Okay.
Interesting. It kind of looks like I'm just skimming it, but it kind of looks like it's only a feature of the mobile app and not the desktop version. At least they're only showing it in the mobile app.
Well, that's pretty gross, but I'm sure we can work it out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll give this it's a long article. I'll give it a full read later and at least sign up. So, I have a little bit of follow-up on our discussion a few episodes back about Dogecoin.
Okay.
A couple months ago, I had told you that I bought in and ended up making a couple $1,000s on Dogecoin just out of luck and thought that was cool. As of today, had I not sold my Dogecoin for a couple $1,000s a couple months ago, it would be worth $50,000.
You're joking.
No.
Oh my god.
So, feeling a little
Regrets.
regretful. Yeah, exactly. And this is probably just FOMO, but I bought back into it a couple days ago at this ridiculously much higher price point. Only because I still maintain and that Dogecoin is completely a joke. And there's no legitimate reason for it to be worth anything except the community's making a joke out of it.
Yeah.
But that being said, it does let you make some predictions about the price. Tomorrow is 420. So Dogecoin price is going to skyrocket. So I bought in like $700 worth a couple days ago in preparation for that to happen tomorrow. And then I'll sell most of it tomorrow because I don't have any long-term aspirations for Dogecoin. But I will hold on to...
What if a lot of people have done that, bought in advance to sell tomorrow?
I don't know.
It's going to be a free fall.
Maybe. It's all a gamble. It's all just a joke. But I won't make the mistake of selling everything. I'm going to hold on to some of it just in the off chance it goes up another 1,000 times. So,
yeah.
But, man. Yeah. Missed out on 50K, though. It's pretty disappointing.
Yeah. Well, that's investing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's life.
Wish I could turn back the clock and mine Bitcoin.
You know, the worst thing about things like that is I remember when Bitcoin was new and I was in high school.
Yeah.
I definitely have some Bitcoin because when it was brand new, I signed up on like those Bitcoin wallet websites. It's like, and this was when it was worth nothing. And they're like, we'll give you 5 Bitcoin if you make a wallet with us, you know?
Yeah.
And I created those just because like, this is new and interesting. And then completely forgot about them. And the computers that I owned at the time and all the data associated with them are long, long gone. But somewhere at some point in my life, I owned hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. So, and it's things like that that make me like want to just buy a little bit of every cryptocurrency as they come out, just in case they're worth a bunch someday.
Yep. I think a lot of people are doing that now.
Yeah. So, what about you? Did you ever get into the cryptocurrency stuff?
When Bitcoin first came out,
Mm-hmm.
and I got my computer mining it, but then like it hogged too much CPU and slowed down my computer too much. I was like, this is never going to amount to anything, and I uninstalled it and just deleted whatever I'd mined so far. So,
Man,
that's my regret.
yeah. I mean, even if you would have left it mining, who knows? You probably would have lost your wallet ID or something else.
Probably.
So,
I did mine some electronium at one point because there was a cool thing where you could actually mine it on your phone, which I thought was interesting.
really?
So I had a phone mining for a while, yeah.
Huh.
Pretty sure I had to be jailbroken. So I had like an old phone that would do it.
That's cool.
Yeah. But that was my only interest in that, really, is that you could use an iPhone to mine Bitcoin, although it wasn't Bitcoin. I don't think that amounted to anything, though. I'm not sure how much I have or even what it's worth. So it's
I mean, it seems like
probably nothing.
It seems like phones wouldn't be very efficient at mining anyway.
Probably not. No, I wouldn't think so.
So, yeah, I mean, even the way above the competition Apple Silicon chips and iPhones today, you know, are nothing compared to a NVIDIA graphics card or something.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. Maybe the M1X. Who knows?
Maybe. The M1X has to have a better GPU for these new iMacs, and it has to support more RAM.
I think they're the only requirements for it, though. There's nothing else it has to do.
Right. Yeah, I think the CPU performance is good enough, which is completely in line with what an X variant is. It's just a bigger GPU on whatever the old silicon was. So if they double the GPU or triple it or whatever they can do, and then I don't know. Doubling the RAM capacity, is 32 enough? I feel like it probably is.
I think it's enough for the small one, but not for the big one. Especially since there's no iMac Pro anymore. You have to have an iMac with like 128.
Ooh. I think if you're competing with iMac Pro, then the M1X needs to be quite a significant bump over the M1. I don't know if we're going to be directly competing with the iPad Pro territory. Like, it might just be inherently faster at some things, but I don't think that it's going to be going after the same market in the same way the MacBook Air is faster than the Mac Pro right now, but that's completely different people that would be buying those. But
what if it came with a battery in the iMac? That'd be insane.
Just like to be used as a UPS or something?
No, you could just like pick up your iMac and go down to the coffee shop. Or move it around the house.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so basically a UPS.
That would be very ridiculous. Just one component that would fail sooner than everything else in your computer and be completely unused most of the time.
Yeah, probably.
And with these iMacs getting bigger, well, I don't know. I predict the 23-inch will be at least wider than the existing 21-inch, but thanks to the shrinking bezels, it might not be that much bigger.
No, probably not.
So,
I wonder how thin they're going to be as well. Is it going to be like an iPad on a stand?
they can be pretty thin. They don't need much. Hopefully they got some pretty good cooling in them, though. Not that Apple Silicon needs it, but I wonder
That's right.
what the performance cap could be if they were cooled really well.
Yeah, just let that thing like burn like crazy and then
Right.
chuck heaps of air through it.
Yeah, they'll have plenty of space for that. Or maybe they'll have a fan.
What time is it going to be exact? A fanless model? No way.
Yeah, probably not.
What time is the keynote for you guys?
For me, it's at noon. It's 10 a.m. Pacific,
Okay, so
which would be like, what, 1 a.m. for you?
1? Yeah, I think so. Oh, I've had a few late nights recently, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to stay up for it.
This is an exciting keynote.
It is.
I'm pretty nervous about it. If Apple has like a really cool new iMac, they might tempt me with this credit burning a hole in my pocket.
Yeah.
So, and I really don't need an iMac. So, I don't know what I don't know what I'm hopeful for. Maybe for it not to come out so that I can keep it for something that I need a little more.
AirPods 3.
Yeah, because they'll be $500.
All right, yeah, you want to spend it all probably.
Yeah, I don't know how these credits work enough. I would be worried to only spend half of it and then like, well, you used your credit, so now you can't use anymore.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's not like a gift card or anything, so. All right. Well, I'm excited.
All right. Me too. I'll probably talk to you tomorrow about it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
The old text.
You'll probably wake up with a bunch of text messages with me, either real excited or sending you an AirTag.